Hello everyone, welcome back. Today we are redoing Coco's vacation home, and you might be wondering, hey, did you ever actually post the video of doing Coco's vacation home? No, that is lost footage. And by that I mean, I did record it, but it was during a time where something weird was happening with my encoder with OBS, and because of that, the footage recorded, but it was choppy. It was almost like a slideshow. It was terrible. So I didn't release it to the internet. I don't have the file anymore. This happened months ago at this point when I'm recording the audio for this. I am a little sleepy. I am back from my business trip. It wasn't that long. It was less than a week, but overall it was fine. The only thing that bothered me was my travel to and from there. I took the train, and for those of you who don't know, maybe you've never taken Amtrak before, it's late more often than not, and it was aggravating. It was like honestly just a mild inconvenience for me, but there were people connecting that I think missed their connection. So it was an hour late leaving my origin point because there was a bridge that we had to go over at some point, and the lock mechanism for the bridge was broken because I think they were doing maintenance on it or whatever. Like, they've been doing maintenance on the bridge. So we had to wait for mechanics to come, and that took about an hour. Annoying, but not the end of the world. The next morning I woke up with a copy-paste message from Amtrak in my email saying that they deposited extra points into my account as an apology. I got to the hotel about an hour later than I had planned to, but again, it wasn't necessarily like the end of the world. I was still there during the afternoon daylight hours. It was fine. And then coming home, it was about a half hour delayed leaving the station in DC. Well, in the DC area. I wasn't leaving from like Union Station. I was leaving from another station. But regardless, it was about a half hour late. And then at some point along the journey, we were stuck on the track for about an hour or something due to traffic on the track, like train traffic. So I got home like an hour and a half later than I was originally supposed to, and it really sucked. It made for a long day. So the hotel that we were at is on the older side. The rooms themselves were fine, but they were kind of outdated. The one thing I did like was that, you know how like when you're in a hotel room and they have like the desk, like the workspace, and there's typically like a desk chair there. Instead, this had almost like a dining table set up. So there was like the wardrobe, and it had the TV on it, like the TV console kind of sort of, with the wardrobe and then the cabinet for the mini fridge and whatever. And then next to that, there was like a bench built into the wall, and there was like a pretty decent sized table in front of that. And then there was like a small, like movable chair, almost like a dining chair, but like it had arms on it. It was like the desk chair, but it wasn't on wheels. It was kind of comfortable, except the table was at like a really weird height compared to the chair for me because I'm short. The chair was kind of like lower to the ground and the table was higher up, and I think that there was a way that you could move the table up and down, but I couldn't figure it out. Either that or my table was like all the way as low as it could be. But there was also like a hub in the middle of the table that had like plugs in it, like for wall plugs, and there was a USB-A port and a C port. So originally, when I got there, my room was ready, so I went to my room. Now, obviously, I was there. It was a business trip. I didn't pay for any of this. I was in a normal king-size room. It was at like the end of the hallway, so it was kind of like a corner room. It was nice. That night, I had gone out to dinner with 3 of my friends, 2 of whom kind of live in the area, and one of them was also there for the conference from out of state. So our one friend that we went out to dinner with, who lives close-ish to where we were, she went home because she had class or whatever. She wasn't going to the conference. Our 2 other friends came back, and the 3 of us hung out in my room because there was also like a comfy armchair like in my room, so we all just sat around and we chatted. And then eventually I went into the bathroom, and there was water leaking from the ceiling light in the bathroom into the tub. So at least it was like contained, but it was concerning. It was getting late, so one of my friends and I, we went down to the front desk because she was coming with me for like moral support. Our other friend had gone back to their room and went to bed. So we went down, and on the way we ran into a hotel employee, so we didn't have to actually like go to the desk, which was great. But the hotel employee did not care. Like, I think that the hotel would be on fire and she would just be like, deal with it, because she was like, oh, that just means that somebody took a shower and now it's coming into your room. And I'm like, so they flooded their bathroom? And she was like, well, that means they probably didn't put the liner in their shower and there's water all on the floor. And I was like, yeah, so they flooded their bathroom. And she was like, it'll stop, it'll be fine, whatever. It was getting late. I was tired. I didn't want to deal with it. I knew she was wrong, so I went to bed. The next morning, leaking. Of course, it didn't stop. It was still leaking. I preemptively had packed all of my stuff when I got up the next morning. Luckily, there weren't any meetings that day, so I didn't really have anything other than general work tasks. Like, I was just checking my email and whatever I was doing for work, but there were no like business meetings. So I went to the front desk before breakfast that day and told another employee, different than the one I had spoken to the night before, and I was like, can you please move me? And she was like, yes, absolutely. So they put me in a room with 2 double beds, which wasn't the end of the world. I mean, honestly, it didn't matter. I just wanted a room that didn't have a water leak. But the good part of that was I was actually right next door to 2 of my friends. The one that had kind of come with me to help find a hotel employee, and our other friend who had come like later that day or whatever. So it worked out well because then we were right next door and we were able to like do stuff easier, like go back and forth between each other's rooms. Like we got some work done together and stuff like that. And overall, the actual conference was a great experience. And if you hear in my voice that I sound a little hoarse, it's because I used my voice a lot and also had to raise my voice sometimes to be heard. You know, people can be loud, and there were a ton of people. There were actually over like 120 people that had registered, including the staff, like myself and a few other people who were working at the event technically, which is like, it sounds small because it kind of was small, but overall, it was a good conference. I got home on the day where a lot of people were going to Capitol Hill to speak with their legislators because it was a legislative and leadership conference. So I did not sign up to do that. I didn't talk to my legislators, and I was also staying on a reservation that my company had already made for another person, but she couldn't come. And her checkout day was the day that everybody was going to the Hill. And that was fine, like whatever. I got work done. I asked for a late checkout and I got it. And then I went home and I took the train, and it was just a long time. The other weird thing is that that hotel was not serving lunch at all during the time that we were there. They did open specifically on Saturday for us to eat lunch because we had a meeting that was happening. Yes, there were meetings on the weekend during this conference. It was just 3 days of meetings, but the Sunday and Monday meetings had luncheons included because we had like keynote speakers and stuff during those lunches. But it was just really weird that like the hotel didn't serve lunch, and they said it was just because they didn't get a lot of business. And I don't think that they're ever going to tear that hotel down because like we have a habit of unfortunately going to hotels for these conferences, and they're older, and you know, that's because the room rates are cheaper. They're able to get there easier because of cost, and then they're torn down. But I don't think this one's going anywhere. However, I do think they're going to be refurbishing it because they were already refurbishing the lobby. I think they had already done that, and they were going to work on the guest rooms. And the other funny thing was there were a lot of school groups there because, you know, it was March when we were there. It's spring break, but also like a lot of schools were doing like their DC trips. And like for me, when I was in school, we went on our DC trip at the end of the year. We did it when I was in 8th grade. This was like in the mid 2000s ish. And we went on our DC trip for like the last full week of school, like in June or something. And I know that like a lot of school groups were there doing something similar to that because we saw a mass exodus of them leaving on that Friday when we were there, and then another one coming in on the Monday that we were there. But that's beside the point. We are done redesigning Coco's vacation home. I'm kind of disappointed that I didn't have the original footage to be able to do it, like that it just didn't work out with recording it and trying to edit it. There was that issue with the encoder, but I'm happy that I was able to go back and redo the home. I think I'm going to do this with a lot of my other builds. I know we did it for Chevra, mainly because I completely forgot that I had built a vacation home for her in the first place because it was so long ago. So if you didn't see that, check that out. I'll link it down below. But thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Please leave any comments, feedback, and suggestions down below. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!